a historical plaque commemorating Nevada County's Jewish community that helped Nevada County thrive during the gold rush. I'm Bernie Zimmerman, chair of the Nevada County Historical Landmarks Commission, which was formed by the Board of Supervisors in 1969 to preserve and promote Nevada County history. There are 10 commissioners. Well, actually, right now there are 9 because Neil Locke, right over there, raise your hand, Neil. Neil retired after 25 years. So we have a vacancy, and frankly, if any of you are interested in filling that vacancy, you don't have to do 25 years. But see Neil, and he can tell you all about it. Now, there are 10, the other commissioners, there are 2 from each supervisorial district. I'm from District 5, and my fellow commissioner, Barbara Sherwinski, who lives in Truckee, couldn't make it, but we do have other commissioners here. Jerry Martini is from District 3 in Grass Valley with his camera. Bruce Boyd is from District 4 up on the ridge. Chuck Shemeka, who's running the video, is also from District 4. Audrey Troutwine is from the Nevada City area. She's the other District 1 commissioner. Oh, there's Felicia Tracy. She's District 2, which is kind of the South County. And is there anybody here that I've missed? Oh, okay. Steve's not here, is he? Steve Fry is a former commissioner who actually did all the installation work for the pond. And I was also going to mention Dawn Zaidanis, but I don't think I've seen her. We're on her turf. She is the Park and Recs manager for Nevada City, and she was very helpful in supporting us in getting this installation done. Also present are Allison Lehman, who's a county executive and has been a very strong supporter of the commission, and somewhere way in the background is Kit Elliott, who's county counsel. All right, now, the Jeff, well, okay, that's right. Jeff is sort of the liaison. I don't know exactly what his position is. It doesn't say anything about us, but he's been working with the commission for many, many years, and it's thanks to his good offices that we have a PA system. The Landmarks Commission helps preserve and promote county history. We process applications to register historical landmarks and then make recommendations to the Board of Supervisors, who ultimately decide whether to register a landmark. The board landmarked Hirschman's Pond on July 13th, 2021. Its official designation is NEV 2103. Now, those of you who are familiar with the pond, who hike the trail, know that the plaque itself was installed a few months ago. But for a number of reasons, principally having to do with the pandemic and with the weather, we decided to postpone the ceremony until today, and I think you'll agree that we made a pretty good decision. Now, the COVID, I'll remind you, is still with us, so do whatever you need to do. I know we're outdoors, but do what you need to do to stay safe and well. Now, the Landmark Commission also promotes history through, we have a website, we have a Facebook presence, an Instagram presence. We publish a variety of things in the local media, and we have a book called Exploring Nevada County, right here. This is the paperback version. There's also a electronic version, and the latest electronic edition just came out last month. So if any of you are interested in getting a copy of the book or want information about the electronic edition, see Audrey, who'll be right here selling them. Now, so what are we commemorating exactly? Nevada County had a significant Jewish community during the gold rush days. There are no really reliable figures, but it had to have been in the many hundreds, just judging from the number of burials in the cemetery, in contemporary reports about social organizations, business directories, and things like that. Many of them came here fleeing from religious persecution and from the repression that they faced following the revolutions of 1848 in Europe, in most of Europe, which were often blamed on the Jews. They found Nevada County to be relatively free of religious persecution, and they were well accepted into the community. One indication of this is that Jews were elected to positions such as county treasurer, city trustee, that's now the city council, and so on. They joined local social organizations such as the Masons, the Odd Fellows, and they established a variety of social and cultural institutions of their own, holding regular religious services. The first Rosh Hashanah service, the Jewish High Holy Days, was held in September of 1852. They established two cemeteries on consecrated grounds, one in Nevada City and one in Grass Valley. Both of those are county historical landmarks, and you can get more information about them in our book. Now, some of the names from that era that you may recognize include the Dreyfus family, relatives of Captain Alfred Dreyfus, the victim in the infamous Dreyfus affair that rocked France around the turn of the last century. At least one of them, Louis, who, by the way, was one of the folks elected as Nevada City Treasurer, is buried in the Nevada City Cemetery. We think some of the other Dreyfuses are too, but I'm not certain about that. And then there are the Zellerbach brothers. They lived up on San Juan Ridge around Moore's Flat. Myers was a miner. He was a banker. He was an investor in the area's water ditches, and he was one of the lead investors in the Nevada County Narrow Gauge Railroad. But the one you probably have heard of is Anthony. Anthony founded what later became the Crown Zellerbach Paper Company. So now let's talk about Hirschman's Pond itself. First of all, contrary to what was long assumed, the pond is not named for Henry and Moses Hirschman, two brothers who operated tobacco shops in Nevada City during the 1850s. In fact, if you'd walked this trail about a year ago, or last year, you would have seen an informational placard about 100 feet up the road, which attributed the pond to the Hirschman brothers. That was one of the things that first got me interested in this whole thing. The Hirschman brothers lost everything in the fires of 1856 and 1858, eventually moved to Virginia City, where they had another brother, and then up to Montana, where they had still another brother, and eventually settled in Salt Lake City. No apparent relationship to Leib Hirschman. The mine that became this pond was opened in the late 50s, probably no later than 1860. It was actually, there were a number of mines in this area that kept getting, consolidated, traded, what have you. And it was eventually acquired by Leib Hirschman. You generally see, he almost always signed his name L. period. Contemporary reports spell it L-E-B. But his actual first name was Leib, which in German would be L-O-E-B. In Yiddish, it would be Lamed, Ayin, Yud, Hey. And somehow it got transliterated, I guess, into L-E-B, which is how you usually see his name carried. Leib means lion in Yiddish and German. Interesting conjunction, Hirschman, Hirsch is deer. So Hirschman would generally be somebody who kept deer or tended deer, maybe like a game warden or something like that. So you have lion, deer men. Who knows what his parents were thinking? His actually Hebrew first name was Aryeh. Any event, Leib was born in 1823. I think I've mentioned this, but no apparent relation to Moses or Henry, other than they both came from what is now Germany, but not even really close to each other. He was born in 1823 in Obach, Germany, and was then part of Bavaria, now part of Germany, and started mining around Ostema Hill generally, I think, over in that direction a little bit. There was, as I say, a lot of small mines, kind of generally in this area. Um, he became a naturalized citizen in 1856, and he apparently was a successful miner because in 1866, he and a partner, there may have been more than one partner, it's hard to tell from some of the records, bought this mine and spent a reported $25,000 to develop it. It became one of the two principal hydraulic mines around Nevada City. He sold his interest in the mine in 1880 and remained in the area. There are regular reports of his serving on the grand jury, serving on or being called for trial jury service, and so on. He died in 1893 in Chicago while he was visiting relatives, maybe to see the Columbian Exposition. Now, mining on this site, for all practical purposes, ceased after the 1884 Sawyer decision, which restricted the dumping of mining debris into the Bear River and its tributaries like Deer Creek. This pond, it's what's left of the mine, called Hirschman's Diggins. Early in the 20th century, it was decided to stock it with fish, and for many years it was a very popular fishing spot. And Charlie Jacobs is not here, but he's one of the former commissioners, and he remembers fishing here. And then about 20 years ago, the property was acquired by Nevada City, and with the assistance of the Bear Yuba Land Trust, became the centerpiece for the Hirschman's Pond Trail, on which you are now standing. Any questions? So let me introduce Ellen Hagan. There she is. She is the secretary of the Greater Cement Hill Neighborhood Association, which sponsored the plaque.
Hello, everyone. Isn't it a beautiful morning to be out here at Hirschman's Pond? My name is Ellen Hagan, and I am here with Joy Elson, representing the Greater Cement Hill Neighborhood Association. We have been an organization active in the community for over 30 years. This trail and the pond are in our neighborhood. And so when we were presented with the opportunity to support the project and to fund the plaque, we were happy to do so. Now, visitors who walk the trail and enjoy the pond will understand how this pond came to be, and they will learn which Hirschman actually mined this place. So that's very interesting to me, and I think it'll be interesting to other people who walk this way. Let's see what I wanted to say. Excuse me. Lastly, I want to thank the Landmarks Commission for the work that all of you do for this community. I know that a lot of research went into the wording of the plaque, and I'm happy to know that there are 200 landmarks
Over about 250 now.
that have resulted from your work. So we appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take it off. So, mentioning the 200 really about 250 landmarks, one of the things that we've been doing in recent years is we've been really trying to expand the diversity and scope of our landmarks, because if you go back and read the histories of the gold rush, this was an incredibly diverse community. I mean, for example, in the 1850s, about maybe 20% of the county's population was Chinese. You had a large Jewish community, you had a large black community, you had a large Hispanic community, Chileans, Peruvians. They were the ones who actually brought a lot of the mining technology to Nevada County. You know, people coming from the east who were farmers or clerks had no idea how to mine. So in any event, in recent years, we've actually been landmarking a number of sites that have to do with these communities. The Alexander family home site in Nevada City, one of the earliest black pioneers. The Kentucky Ridge Slave Mine. It was a mine that was operated for several years by black slaves brought over from the South. The two African Methodist Episcopal churches. The Grass Valley one was landmarked last fall. There's an application before the board now for the Nevada City one. Hirschman's Pond, the Jewish community, St. Paul's Lutheran Church and Cemetery, the German Lutheran community that was very instrumental in pioneering the area around Cement Hill, the Chinese cemetery, the Chinese rail workers. We'll have another ceremony like this in a few, I don't want to say weeks, but I'll say months, honoring the Chinese rail workers who helped build the Nevada County Narrow Gauge Railroad. So there's a lot of things happening, and that's how we get up to, as I say, over 250. And almost all of them are in the book. All of them are in the electronic edition. So back to Nevada County and the Jewish experience. For a number of reasons, including the restrictions on mining that I've mentioned, the population of Nevada County towards the end of the 19th century decreased, and many residents left and moved to Sacramento or the Bay Area. The Jewish community declined. The last burials in the two historic cemeteries were around 1890. But Nevada County reinvigorated itself in the second half of the county and once again has a thriving Jewish community. And to speak to that, first I'll turn to Rabbi David Azen of Congregation B'nai Harim at the Nevada County Jewish Community Center in Grass Valley, which has been around for, I'd say, over 50 years. Rabbi? I guess my connection with him is only 40-some years.
Thank you, Judge Zimmerman. Bernie, who is our regular Rosh Hashanah Torah reader, and so when he called, I couldn't say no. Torah readers are a rare breed. But there is a beautiful blessing that we have in Hebrew that from the tradition for when we do something for the first time or we're inaugurating something like this, and it's called the Shehechianu, and it basically says, "Blessed are you, source of the universe, who has brought everything into being, who has given us life, has sustained us, and enabled us to reach this very moment." So you can all say, Amen. now we're going to say it in Hebrew. Now here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. My now 28-year-old, when he was 11, said the blessing for the first time by himself, and he turned to me and he said, "I just did it by myself for the first time. Do I need to say it again?" I said, "Of course." So there you go. We could say it again because you just did it for the first time. But anyway, we have a thriving Jewish community here. The sense that we are welcome and secure for the most part in this county has continued since the 1800s. We have two rabbis in the county. We have the Orthodox and unorthodox synagogues. And everything in between falls into place. The Nevada County Jewish Community Center on Wall Street houses the Congregation B'nai Harim, and we have a very active sisterhood. We have a youth group that is actually working with the Interfaith Food Ministry now on food security in Nevada County with a new model. We're active in social justice issues. We're active in civic issues. As Jews, we are engaged with the world and engaged with this community. I live in Sacramento and work down there, so I'm up here only every other weekend, but I find myself drawn more and more to really spending more time here. This is an actual wonderful place, and we're very, very happy and privileged to be a part of it. So I believe it was 1978 when the Jewish Community Center was first established by a small group of people, and then found its building and its home. We have regular Sunday school. We have Friday night, Saturday morning with services and study, and we're just thrilled to be here today to celebrate the history that has brought us to this very moment. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi Yazi. So, as you've heard, in the last few years, a second Jewish community has been established here, more Orthodox than the congregation B'nai Harim, the Grass Valley Chabad Center, located in the Glenbrook area, and here, representing them, is Rabbi Nachum Yosevitz, and I'll ask him to say a few words. No, well, you just hold this, reasonably close, and hold that in your other hand, and you're off and running.
Thank you so much, Bernie, Rabbi David, and everybody over here. It's very, very special to be gathering for such a special occasion, and how appropriate the Shechianu, inaugurating something new and starting a new chapter of continuing what was the community way back when. Usually when I walk this trail, I mind my own business, and now I'll know so much more about the Hirschman. I always would laugh to myself, I'm like, oh, that's a good Jewish name. Well, now I know more about it. So what a coincidence that today is a Jewish holiday. It's actually the holiday called Pesach Sheni, which is the second Pesach. What? One Passover? Another one? Well,
you got to be real Orthodox.
I know. My friend Bernie here mentioned Orthodox, and Rabbi David mentioned Orthodox. I try to be as traditional as possible, but what's amazing about the diversity that you mentioned that way back is that in our community, I don't think there's anyone besides myself that considers themselves Orthodox. So it is really special to watch so many walks of life and from so many backgrounds, and and we just transcend labels of Orthodox and conservative, Reform. We just we try to be as inclusive as possible and focus on what unites us. So it's really cool that back then there was this diversity, and here and today as well. I think it's such a coincidence that it's on Pesach Sheni, because back in biblical times, some of the Jews that were impure or weren't able to make it on time for the Passover service, they complained and they said, hey, why should we miss out? And from that was born the second Passover, which represents the idea of there are always second chances. There's always another opportunity. It's never too late. Some people think I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too far gone. It's never too late. And one may ask, some things are too late. I mean, May 13 will never, ever, 2022 will never, ever come back. So that day, if it was a wasted day, let's say, it's too late. But when we transcend time, when we go to a space of everything is timeless, and we go for a greater cause, and we're here to make the world a better place, it's never too late. And there's no time, there's no back and forward, but there's the here and now, which is all one thing, which I think is very appropriate for today, where we commemorate and remember the years behind us, but we're reliving history and making it all one piece. So thank you, everyone, for the work that you put into this, and thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you, Rabbi. Okay, so just a couple of closing thoughts. For those of you who may be interested in drilling down further into the history of Jews in Nevada County, there is an article written by Dr. Levinson, which appeared in the Historical Society News Bulletin, called History of Jews of Grass Valley and Nevada City, 1971. It's volume 25, number 3. And we've posted it on our website and where else? Facebook. It'll be up for a while. So if you want to read more, that's the place to go. If any of you have access to Western Jewish history, much harder to access publication, but volume 16, number 2, has an issue called something like Early Nevada City Jewry. So anybody have any questions or about anything? There's one more person I want to acknowledge, Dom Lindars, right here, who's a researcher and who yesterday afternoon sent me a copy of Leib Hirschman's tombstone, which he found online, and it's in Chicago. Whether it's the original or not, I don't know. It looks very new for something that should have been placed in 1893. But reading the Hebrew name made it all of a sudden all clear, where Leib came from. So with that, thank you all very much. Take the time to enjoy Hirschman's Pond, walk the trail, and don't do anything to, stay out of the way of the people who are maintaining it. All right, we are adjourned. Don't forget Audrey if you want a book.
I'm zooming in. Stay right there. Don't go away yet.